big-time celebrities and other prominent persons congratulate themselves for holding correct attitudes. It's absolutely the opposite of what protest marches used to be, and it's not effective. It's not getting any of these people. I didn't even remember. I mean, what was that thing you said at the top of the show, a day without a woman? That one passed me by. Every day is a day without a woman for poor old me. I didn't even know that one.
Well, you just lit up social media about that one.
Yeah.
You know, let's get over to Facebook and what Facebook is doing, Mark. It's letting their staff, you know, if you don't want to work, you want to go protest, that's okay. What about the people who want to work? What about the Facebook worker who shows up? Is that fair to them?
Yeah, no, I don't. I think this is a form of subtle intimidation. Because you're basically instructing your workers that if you want to work at Facebook, you have to hold certain attitudes. And I think this is actually one of the horrible things about a lot of these stories, like the cancellation of the Rose Parade in Portland, that actually non-political things, everything is political now. You know, I just a couple of days ago, I heard some jazz singer being interviewed, and the interviewer was fascinated and wanted to know why she had a Republican bass player. There aren't a lot of bass players, and the ability to play the bass well doesn't depend on whether you're in favor of transgendered bathrooms or nuking North Korea. It's irrelevant to that. And this politicization of everything, which these so-called hipster monopolies like Facebook and Google and the rest of them are encouraging, is actually basically trying to enforce a state ideology in every aspect of life.
Yeah, you know, there's also another story I'd like your thoughts on. So protesters are allowed to take the streets, but when it comes to conservatives, some of them cannot march in a parade. We've got that right. Portland, Oregon cancels its annual Rose Parade tomorrow after parade organizers got an anonymous email that warned them to cancel the local Republican group from marching, or else. It was a threatening email. Here's what it said,
Right.
quote, "You have seen how much power we have downtown and that the police cannot stop us from shutting down roads. So please consider your decision wisely. At least 200 will rush into the parade and drag and push this Republican group out." And now, Mark, what's happening? A member of the Republican group responding. Let's take a listen.
This city has tolerated these left-wing psychos for a long time. We've raised a generation of what you might call little Nazis. They're little totalitarians who have no adherence to fundamental American constitutional principles or anything other than shutting people up who they don't agree with.
So it's the heckler's veto, threaten violence, and the Republicans get yanked. What do you think?
Yeah, and I think what's disturbing is actually the connection between the thugs and the respectable figures on the left. Only terribly weak ideas cannot withstand an alternative point of view. So if your reaction, these so-called anti-fascist groups, if you're the one whose reaction to some meek, mild-mannered Chamber of Commerce Republicans is to say you're going to go into the parade and drag them out and club them to a pulp, you're the fascist. You're the fascist. And the problem for this is that it starts at the highest levels of the left in this country, going right back 100 days to the inauguration when respectable figures like John Lewis and many other prominent Democrats actually denied the legitimacy of the change of power, as if this country was just a banana republic like the Gambia, where the president who'd lost power was refusing to get out of office back then. We're in exactly the same situation, that one side does not respect the fact that this is a pluralist society in which there are multiple political positions, and the idea that only one of them has legitimacy is actually forcing us into a dark, hellish, ugly, and violent place.
Yeah, so how seriously should these threats be taken?
Oh, I think absolutely seriously. I think if you can't have... What's next? You know, the Macy's Thanksgiving Day parade is going to have to be cancelled because there's somebody marching in it who has the incorrect position on transgender bathrooms. I mean, this makes all life, this makes any kind of civic life, shared civic space, impossible. We're going to need separate parades and separate streets and separate jurisdictions according to who you vote for. And then in effect, there's actually not enough social glue to hold the society together. This is one of the most disgraceful aspects of life in America today. And the people who are doing this should be ashamed. I don't want to club and ban my political opponents. I'm happy for them to have their say, then I have my say, and may the best man win.
Yeah,
but these guys who just want to shut things up, they're killing this country.
Without, you know, do it without the masks on. I mean, the police should stop that immediately, because in many places it's against the law to wear masks. Let's move on to this topic, Mark. Conservative author Ann Coulter eventually did not show up at that controversial planned event where she was going to speak in Berkeley, California. It ended up being a raucous but peaceful rally. Ann Coulter explains. Let's take a listen.
The police captain's argument was, we can't have Ann Coulter. There's going to be violence. Well, I don't know, call a cop. Well, what's your job? It's like you're on a plane that's about to take off, and the pilot says, how am I supposed to get this thing across the country? Well, that's your job.
Mark, does Ann Coulter have a point? I mean, why couldn't the police or the authorities, Berkeley, find a safe place to have her and let her speak?
Yeah, because the police and the authorities in general are on the side of the thugs. That's the sad fact in Berkeley. There's a politicized police chief who affects a position of neutrality between the guys smashing windows and burning cars and the thin blonde lady giving a speech. And now when you say you have a position of studied neutrality between the thugs who want to smash and destroy and one lady trying to give a speech, then you are effectively on the side of the thugs. And that's actually what this police chief is at. His website, he offers protesters a deal like you can have a symbolic arrest. You know, they're not going to shoot you, they're not going to tase you, they're not going to get the police dogs to rip your leg apart, but you'll get a nice symbolic arrest where you can have a cute little selfie and it'll look great on YouTube, and you can stick it to the man without the man sticking it to you back. Anne is absolutely right on this. Who needs a police department if the police department is not even capable of letting one woman give a speech?
Yeah, and it's on taxpayer-funded property, right?
Right.
Thank you, Mark Stein. We love having you on. Come back soon.
Hey, always a pleasure, Liz.